Am I cut out for this? Am I meant for this? Am I stupid? Am I just not smart enough? All these thoughts just came rushing back in. It's funny. It seems like my brain is the smallest excuse to just come in and attack me for the smallest reason when I just can't solve something the first time, or if I'm just struggling with something. Hey you guys, so today I want to talk to you all about something that I do pretty often, and I'm pretty sure is the source of most of my anger, frustration, sorrow, and fear. It's about being too hard on myself when my body and my mind are already somehow refusing to cooperate with me to get to my goals and my ideas, things that I want to achieve in my life. Now perhaps a lot of you are already familiar with this idea, but just imagine a situation where you have all these lofty and big goals and things you want to be doing, but for some reason you just don't have the energy. And the way you really respond to it is kicking yourself further while you're down. This kicking yourself often appears as criticizing yourself or scolding yourself, and for some reason you keep doing it even though it doesn't make you feel any better about the situation. It doesn't really solve the problem either. Over the last 3 days, I woke up with this mental fog. I had very little energy and I just couldn't expend any focus or attention towards anything that I wanted to do. And when I tried to distract myself by doing something else, I was literally half-assing even that. Most of my day involved literally just lazing on my couch, changing my position on my couch, sighing deeply, then scrolling on Instagram, then being angry at myself for scrolling on Instagram, then continuing to scroll on Instagram anyway, and just having the cycle keep repeating itself. And then once my brain was tired, my eyes were exhausted, I would just go to bed, lay my head on the pillow, and just hope that tomorrow would be a better day. That somehow all of these issues, this low energy, the weird criticisms I was giving to myself would somehow just vanquish, and I would start anew, fresh, in a new day. But tomorrow didn't end up being a better day, and neither did the day after. Each day, I just sat there, uninspired and unmotivated. I wanted to go on a run to clear my head, but unfortunately, I had ran this 5-miler a couple days ago, and I guess it didn't cool down properly, so my calves were in so much pain, I just couldn't go. So instead, I was just at home, and all the while, and I'm not even exaggerating, my mind was just cycling through the same exact thoughts, the same exact criticisms, over and over and over again. So I tried to distract myself. I tried to read a book, but honestly, my eyes were just glossing over the pages. I didn't grasp a single thing of what I was reading. I tried to put something funny on Netflix, but I literally was just hearing sounds. I'm not even kidding. And I was listening to nothing. My mind was just fundamentally so utterly distracted. It felt like I was in 5 different awful places all at once, and I couldn't focus on anything, and there was no stable ground around me. My mind was just in this terrible loop of just making me feel awful about myself. I honestly just felt like this immobile plank of wood just floating on this really still, placid, and putrid lake. And as I said, throughout this phase, my mind was just going over the same exact thoughts over and over again. It was exhausting, and with every repetition of those thoughts, I would just feel a little bit more terrible about myself. My mind wasn't even creative enough to come at me from a different angle. Now, because it was so repetitive, I still remember those critiques pretty well. So what I'm gonna do is actually air those out in public, take this filth out of my mind and put it out there, and really hope that it can be replaced by something a little bit more positive, or at least neutral. So here were some of the criticisms. Why are you sitting on that couch, and why are you being so lazy? Why are you relapsing into your high social media usage? Why aren't you spending any of your free time right now doing anything even remotely creative? Are you even absorbing any of the things you're reading? What was the takeaway from the last paragraph you just read? Or maybe just the general theme of the last 5 pages? Are you even paying attention to this TED Talk you're watching on Netflix? What's the point? You've literally heard the exact same things about showing up for yourself, about being vulnerable, about having courage, etc. And look at you, you're just still sitting here, you're doing nothing about it. I really don't think you should be doing this YouTube thing. I mean, what's the point? You don't even have 52 ideas, 1 idea for each week of the year. You're literally just stuck at 22 or 23. There's really no point. You may as well go find something else that you might be good at. You're just not cut out for this. Alright, so this is not a novel experience for me. This is something I've had to deal with and I've experienced over different phases of my life. Looking back at when I was in high school, I once took this really challenging physics class, and there was some problem that I just couldn't solve. I just read about and learned the concept, and now I had to apply it to a problem. And somehow I just couldn't solve it. A few other people around me were able to. I immediately plunged into these awful thoughts such as, are you just not cut out for this? Are you not smart enough? Do you not have the IQ? Why can't you do it as quickly as they can? Why can't you grasp the concept? You literally just read it, etc., etc. And these thoughts didn't just end when the class ended or when the problem was solved, No, these thoughts very much continued in me as insecurities for many days after. Anytime after that I would encounter a difficult problem, I would immediately go back into thinking there was something fundamentally wrong with me. That somehow my IQ was really low, that somehow I wasn't meant to be doing this, that somehow, I just couldn't get there, I just couldn't be that good. So not only was I facing the problem of having literally a difficult problem to solve, but I was also just literally being the most unhelpful person to myself by constantly scolding myself instead of actually being more hopeful and trying to see how I could improve. Similarly, when I was in college, I did a computer science major, and my first computer science class, I was taking this programming assignment, and the college I went to really likes to challenge us, I guess, and they gave us a really hard problem for the very first programming assignment. I was doing this problem in the common room of our dorm, and there was this other kid doing it alongside me. Now this kid has literally been coding since he was probably 9 or 10 years old. His dad's a software engineer. He would literally give him problems to solve as a kid when he was that age, and he would be coding. Now, as one would probably expect, this kid solved the problem in, like 4 or 5 hours. His project was complete, it was all packed up and done. And here I am, still maybe a quarter of the way to the problem, and definitely still struggling through it. Immediately, as soon as I saw him close his laptop, get up, and leave the common room, I was just shocked. I was like, wow, I've been struggling so hard at this. He just gets up and leaves because he's done with the problem set. Now, I have a feeling that this terrible habit of unproductive self-criticism, that's what I'm gonna call it, it's not really just a unique thing to me. And even though I know that it's something I've been through a few times before, that I always do get out of it, and even though I know how debilitating it is to be in that phase for days on end, when I'm actually going through this in the moment, all of those self-criticisms seem very true. And in that moment, even though I know it's gonna hopefully and probably end, I just don't know how long it'll take, and that's a really haunting idea. After a whole day of just constantly criticizing myself, I'll just then finally go to bed at night and then just say a prayer out to the universe that tomorrow's gonna be better, and all these different, problems I had or issues I had or the low feeling I had will simply vanish and I won't have to deal with it again tomorrow. But this time, it was a little bit different. And maybe it's because this triple water sign, Pisces Sun, Scorpio Moon, Cancer rising. Maybe this triple water sign has suddenly become even more introspective and more in tune with his feelings. Or maybe it's because of this YouTube project I've started, that I've started to take away certain kinds of insights from different experiences in my life so I can journal and even share them with people online. But basically what I learned is that I need to really calm down. I have to be generous with myself and a hell of a lot kinder. At the end of the day, this is my body, it's my mind and it's my spirit. And honestly, I'm the only one responsible for it. I'm very fortunate to have a very loving family and an incredible group of friends. And when I share my struggles with them, they're very, very helpful and they provide me some really good advice. But at the end of the day, all of their words are simply encouragement, right? And everything they do is simply encouraging me to pick myself up and get out there, but then I have to do all the work and solve the problem myself. Encouragement is really just positive words or maybe a warm embrace to give you that sort of strength to then pick yourself up and do that work yourself. Nobody else can do that work for you. You have to pull yourself up from whichever kind of dark phase you're in. But of course, as and when you need it, you can have some friends and family give you those loving words to sort of get that energy again to do that work. Now, since only I can pull myself out of this sort of dark phase or situation I'm in, I can tell you one thing. Criticizing myself even more when I'm already feeling low, when my body and mind are already tired, is not the answer. I'm a big proponent of feeling your feelings. When you have a feeling, close your eyes, feel it from head to toe. But then here's the key thing. You have to let it go. Feeling your feelings is not about getting into these unending cyclical thoughts that leave you tired. It's about meditating over that feeling, letting it come through, and then letting it go. Not obsessing over it. It definitely won't pass, and it definitely won't get processed if you're just in this weird mode where you're constantly scolding yourself. I find that many times I let the feeling come, I feel it, but then counterintuitively, I just don't let it go. I seem to have this unhealthy predilection to only obsess over these negative thoughts, and while I'm in it, just forget about all the good encouragement I've been receiving and all the things I really do love about myself. But honestly, coming out of this 4-day rut that I've been in, I'm so proud. I've realized that this inexplicable melancholy is very much just a part of life, well, at least a part of mine. It happens, and then I have to just identify it and let it pass. There is a lot in my life that I should be proud of and I should be happy and grateful for. However, when your mind is not equipped with the right tools, when you enter this low phase, it can honestly become your greatest critic and your worst enemy. In a matter of seconds, it can demolish your confidence, your self-esteem, feelings of self-worth. and even the different ideas you had for cool projects you wanted to do. Everything now just seems impossible. You seem worthless. Any energy you had is gone. And you just think that you've just been wasting all of your time so far for all the 25 years you've lived for some inexplicable reason. I've realized that my mind, and maybe even yours, is incredible at being a terrible, terrible critic to yourself and demolishing all these ideas that you have about yourself in minutes, in seconds. It's really just so much easier to obsess over negative thoughts and feelings and go down this abyss of negative ideas. But now when I'm falling, I need to think about stopping the fall and gaining some strength by developing some more mindfulness. If I'm getting into a weird low phase, I should really question what that phase is really about, rather than indulging in it. I need to ask fewer questions such as, why am I in this phase and do I deserve it? And more questions such as, how did this come to be and how do I get out of it? What are my mind and my body saying that I need? Also, I think I just do need to listen more to my body. I'm a really, really active person. I love running, I love playing squash, I love being creative and just going out there and doing things all the time. But sometimes your body just needs rest. And whether you like it or not, or rather, whether I like it or not, sometimes I just have to rest and recuperate, fill up my tank so I can keep doing all the things that I love to do. If I'm in a low phase, I have to just treat that as a signal that I need to rest and recuperate, and not be even harder on myself for not being a superhuman who can just go, go, go. Rest and recuperation is productive. It's important that we keep some time to heal. I've realized that sorrow and joy are both emotions and are both signals of something that our body is telling us. They both carry equal strength and should be treated equally. There's no reason to think that one is more real than the other. In my case, I often treat sorrow as being a lot more real than joy. Joy tells you to do more of what you're doing, that you're in a good place and you should revel in this. And sorrow is telling you that something's not quite right somewhere and you need to change pace or change your direction. Maybe slow down a bit. Maybe rethink a few things. Just let go for a while and gather some strength. Maybe you've just been overworking yourself a lot, physically, mentally, spiritually. Who knows? So just be easy on yourself. I've come to realize two things. One, life is a marathon, so I do have to pace myself. I can't just go all out sprinting from start to finish. Number two, life is to be enjoyed and it's supposed to be pleasurable, not to be hustled through, as a lot of these productivity pundits will have you believe. Now, if hustling gives you joy and immense pleasure, by all means. Perhaps hustling just makes you honestly want to throw up. Then don't do it. But hustling is not the fundamental truth of life. Find something else that gives you joy. There are far too many ways to live in this huge universe, and we're all sort of just making things up as we go. And to be honest, sometimes I think people are just hustling for the sake of hustling. Whether that comes from commodity fetishism, whether that's because you tie your self-worth so closely to your job so that if your job ever collapses or you get a bad review, you also lose all sense of your worth. Or maybe you're hustling just to keep yourself busy for all hours of the day when you're awake, so your brain never has to encounter the things you're truly afraid of. So that's my reflection coming out of this really painful cycle of self-criticism about being easier on yourself. Take that rest, gather that strength, reach out to people and get that encouragement, and be patient with yourself, and trust yourself that you will get out of it. Tomorrow is a new day, and if every day you're being good to yourself, then every day you're inching closer to a better state of mind. Don't think to yourself that suddenly the next morning everything will be better, all your problems will be solved somehow, and then be mad when they aren't. You can't scold yourself into being okay, or at least I can't. When you're in the process of healing and recuperating, just do things for yourself. And then, when you feel like you have that strength, that courage, to really tackle that inner critic in you who keeps scolding you with the same criticisms over and over again, the voice that just comes from nowhere and then constantly nags you, keeps bringing you down, and makes you feel worthless, you go in there with all the strength you've just found, with all that courage, and you slay that bastard. And most importantly, get ready for a really nice celebration afterwards. Now that could be going back to your normal routine again. It could be taking a nice hot shower and then treating yourself to a cold tub of ice cream while you watch your favorite TV show. Whatever it is. Now one last thing, and this might not be the most pleasant, at least this is what I found for myself. Even though you defeat this inner critic, he never actually dies. At least mine hasn't yet. His tenacity is honestly a bit inspiring. But the thing is, he's also not very smart. Every time he comes back, whenever he does, he'll always attack me with the same kind of technique. There will be 7 to 10 questions, 7 to 10 criticisms that will keep cycling through to keep bringing me down. But I generally know his technique, I know the way he attacks, so the next time it happens, I'm just not gonna do the things that I know are unhelpful. I won't criticize myself even more over and above what he does, and instead, I'll be better to myself. I'm just gonna treat myself, I'm gonna enjoy myself. I won't think about all those grandiose plans and ideas I have, and just take some time to rest and know that in a few days from now, I'll get that energy again, I'll try again, and I'll be fine. And now hopefully, every time I'm gonna engage in this battle with the self-critic, it'll be a shorter battle. I'll come out of it with fewer bruises, and I'll also just come out of it a much stronger person. Okay, well, if you watched it this far, then thank you for watching. As always, I really appreciate you watching this whole video. I'm curious what your thoughts are. And if you have the self-critic inside you and you feel vulnerable enough to be able to share the kinds of ways that this voice criticizes you all the time, then leave those down in the comments below. Because I've actually found, in fact, in the making of this video, that when I actually put down the exact things or ways in which this voice criticizes me, I'm able to already kind of begin that process of healing and get out of it. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any more tips also on making these battles less painful, leave those in the comments below as well. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you like the videos you've seen so far, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks.